Here. Hi, I'm Veronica. This is your Essential Astrology report for um, March 25th and this week, which is my birthday week. My birthday is tomorrow, March 26th. If you are on my email list, you are going to get a really awesome birthday gift from me to you on my birthday. So I am releasing my first ever free astrology guide, and it is called the Real Sign Guide, and it blends so many of the things I love, not only astrology, but essential oils and also Real Housewives. So whether or not you're a Housewives fan, you will find something of value in the guide, I am sure. And I'm excited to share it with you. So if you're on my list, you'll be getting it. And if you're not on my list, make sure that you get on my list. Hi, Sharon. So if you're not on my list, just send me a message here and I will get you on. I'll just add you before I send the email out tomorrow. Okay, so let's get right into it. I'm a little later than normal today, so I want to make sure that we get right to the action. So the big thing to talk about this week that everyone is waiting to hear about is Mercury is leaving retrograde. So in astrology talk, we call that stationing direct. So Mercury will be stationing direct this week. So what happens is when the planet is in retrograde, when it's going into retrograde or leaving retrograde, it has a station. So it slows down first. This whole week pretty much up until, well, start from yesterday through Thursday, Mercury is at 16 degrees Pisces. So you know what else is also at 16 degrees Pisces? Neptune. So both of those planets are in Pisces. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces, and this Mercury retrograde has had a really emotional tinge to it. You may be feeling super emotional, maybe a little bit weepy, maybe a little bit wounded. There's a couple reasons for that, which we'll get into. But one of the things about this particular Mercury stationing direct is that it's really intense, conjunct with that Neptune. So for all my Pisces out there, Sharon, you included, this has been a really tough Mercury retrograde. I've been hearing from my Pisces friends. They are struggling. This week, you will have your ruler Neptune conjunct with that Mercury stationing. So it's going to be intense. I know I have a Pisces friend who is going through a huge life change with her job this week. If you are a Pisces or if you have a lot of Pisces in your chart, I would not be surprised if there is some big ending happening this week, some big shift of some sort, some big emotional reveal, something that you discover that you just didn't really acknowledge until this week. Now, we all might be feeling some of that as well, because not only do we have all of this emotional churning up in Pisces going on with Mercury and Neptune, we've got Venus coming into Pisces. So that's happening on Tuesday. So the first big thing of the week is the Tuesday Venus ingress into Pisces. So we've been talking a lot about how we've had all this Pisces water energy. What happens with Pisces is that you feel these emotions come up, but you don't necessarily know how to express them, and we haven't had any air in the sky. And air is what helps us talk, helps us communicate, helps us write. So it's been really hard to express the things that are coming up. And you might just be feeling like a crazy person and not being able to express that, but don't worry, because everybody's feeling like a crazy person. So we will be still experiencing that Pisces energy for a while, because Mercury is going to be at 16 degrees this week and then start moving forward. Venus will go through the whole spectrum, all 29 degrees of Pisces. So we're going to be in this Pisces world for a little bit longer, even though we will have some more air and some more fire in the sky, which is going to lighten it up for us. All that said, if this emotional stuff that's being churned up doesn't go away overnight, don't be wary. You might be feeling it for a couple more weeks. And what I love that one of my favorite astrologers, I was listening to her podcast today, and she said this, and I thought I would just quote her. So Anne Ortley, if you don't know her, she's fantastic. You can listen to her podcast. She said, quote, "This is a time of heightened emotion designed to take you someplace." And I really love that, so I wanted to share it with you. So once again, it's a time of heightened emotion that is designed to take you someplace. So I want you to realize that all of this stuff that's been churned up in this period of Mercury retrograde and this period of of this past week, which I'll talk more about, which is Chiron and the sun coming together. It is all for a purpose. It is all in a conversation with the North Node, which is moving us forward. It's where we need to grow. It's where the world, where the universe is pushing us to build, to evolve, to grow, to create. So the North Node currently is in Cancer, and so much of this water is really this preparation for us to move into whatever we are growing in this time of the North Node in Cancer. Yeah, Sharon, I've been feeling it too, and I know so many Pisces friends who are really feeling this even more than I am. So all of this water, and I think even the water that we experienced back in the fall, we had this huge period, like this exacerbated Pisces period feels kind of like the exacerbated Scorpio period we had in the fall, or I don't know if exacerbated is the right word, probably extenuated. And I personally much prefer an extended Pisces period than an extended Scorpio period, because Pisces, there is something about it that's really healing. Even when it's confusing, even when it's a little bit foggy, which I've been feeling super foggy, there's something about it that's soft and healing, and there's a nurturingness about it. There's a slowness to it. Scorpio, the original ruler of Scorpio is Mars, which is the ruler of Aries. And so Scorpio is a more fiery water sign, is a more complex water sign in a way. It's a fixed water sign, so it is really stubborn. So that energy is very different than Pisces. Pisces is very fluid. So all of that is to say that I think that all of this extended periods of water that we've been experiencing in the past, I would say 9 months or so, is definitely about preparing us for this North Node in Cancer that we started the journey with a few months ago, and will be with this journey for another year and change. So really, this is just a preparation. So much of spiritual work, whether you're basing it on your astrology or basing it on something else, is about preparing for the big moment, right? So practice every day is not necessarily big and momentous, but we practice for the big moments when the practice pays off, if you will. So we're practicing right now to grow whatever we're growing in the sign of Cancer in this period of time, this 18 months that Cancer is in the North Node, or with the North Node is in Cancer, and that will be going through for another year and change. So all that is to say that we've got two big things happening in Pisces this week. So Venus moves into Pisces on Tuesday at 3:43 p.m. Eastern time. I'm in New York City, so I use Eastern time. You can calculate for where you are. And the second big thing happening this week is Mercury stationing direct at 9:59 a.m. On Thursday, and it's at 16 degrees with Neptune. And now, mind you, it will be at 16 degrees moving slowly with Neptune from yesterday through Thursday. So if you are feeling, there's stuff coming up right now. So you'll notice things like Mercury retrograde always makes us review stuff. It always makes us revisit stuff. It brings up old stuff so that we can finally deal with it. Sometimes you might find that the thing that you thought you conquered, you didn't really conquer, and it shows up again. So just pay attention to how Mercury retrograde is showing up for you, and know that at these periods, the beginning and the end of Mercury retrograde, when the stations happen, is when they feel the most intense. So give yourself space this week. I've been telling everyone this whole Mercury retrograde, my number one piece of advice for Mercury retrograde is create more space in your schedule. So moving on from all the Pisces talk, another cool thing is happening this week, which is that Mars is moving on Sunday out of Taurus, where it's been for a while, and into Gemini. And so I'm excited about this because we haven't had really any air in the sky other than Venus and Aquarius. So once she moves into Pisces, it'll be nice that we'll get a quick move of Mars into Gemini, and we'll be able to express ourselves. And that is going to feel so freeing after all of this time experiencing emotion and not being able to express it. So be mindful. I mentioned this the other day on my friend Veronica Grant's podcast. We were doing the love horoscope for the next 3 months for her listeners. And I'll let you know when that comes out. I think it's coming out on Thursday, actually. And I mentioned that with Mars going into Pisces, be really mindful of what you say, because Mars is actually going to be opposing at some point Jupiter and Sagittarius. And those two together in those particular signs are definitely going to be foot and mouth syndrome. So really be mindful about how you speak and what you say, and make sure you take a deep breath before you say it and think it through before you say it. So Mars in Gemini is going to give us an opportunity to express the things we've been feeling, but maybe haven't been able to express. I think that it'll also up our mental activity. So if you've been feeling foggy mentally like I have with all the Pisces energy, Mars is going to bring some sharpness. With Mars in the intellectual sign of Gemini, our minds will start to sharpen again, and we'll feel a little bit more on our game. So I'm excited about that, Lord knows. In addition to that, really use the rest of this Mars in Taurus well, because Mars in Taurus is a great time to create habits. So for me personally, with this time, I decided I really wanted to double down on one habit and make sure that I made that habit stick while Mars was in Taurus. And for me, that was swimming. I wanted to make sure that I swam 3 days a week. I knew it would be really good for me. It's something I've been wanting to commit to. I knew with all the Pisces energy, it was going to be really good for me on an emotional level, as well as a physical level. And I committed to it. And now it's a routine. And now Mars will leave Taurus and I'll maintain the routine. So that's a good tip for when Mars hits Taurus every other year, because Mars takes 2 years to go around the horoscope wheel. It's a good time to really, really identify what habit you want to create in your life, what you want to stick to, and stick it out. So Mars going to Gemini, I'm excited about it. If you haven't used that energy of Mars and Taurus to dig in and really commit to your routine, you've got a few more days. It doesn't move until Sunday. So give yourself the next 6 days to really commit to something that you want to keep with you for the next 2 years. Okay, so those are the main things that are happening this week. The moon is in Sagittarius today and tomorrow, which are really nice days. It's always nice with all this water and earth in the sky. It's really nice to have some fire from the moon. And then Wednesday through Friday, the moon will be in Capricorn. We don't have any super duper long voids this week, which is nice because we had 3 long void moons last week. To remind you, void moons are times that you don't necessarily want to initiate something new. Great for follow-up, great for mundane tasks like doing the laundry or cooking or following up with emails, but not necessarily great for like pitching for new business or something like that. But no long void moons this week, which is great. And then, for the weekend, the moon will be in Aquarius, and that'll be air, and that'll be nice because we've been needing some air as well. Moon in Capricorn, be mindful on Friday morning, the moon is going to conjunct Saturn and Pluto. And that happens each month when the moon comes to Capricorn, because we have this long period of Saturn and Pluto being in Capricorn. And that is a story that I've been talking about for months, and I'm going to talk about for another like almost 2 years. And so this is really it's just a little tough. Every month when the moon comes around to Capricorn and hits that Saturn, then hits that Pluto, it can feel a little bit heavy. So just know that Friday morning you might have a little bit of heaviness, a little bit of stuck energy. But here's the thing, Wednesday through Friday, that moon's going to be super productive in Capricorn. With all of this emotional stuff, it can be kind of nice to channel that into something productive. The other thing I wanted to mention, last week I talked about this on my Instagram stories. The Sun and Chiron came together last week. They had a perfect conjunction, and the Sun and Chiron together, Chiron is the wounded healer. And it is, the half man, half horse, not really sure who he is, not really sure where he belongs, not really sure of anything, and he finds his wound, uses his wound to heal others. And so wherever we have Chiron in our chart, it can help us identify where we are wounded and how we can use that to help heal others and help work with others in this life. When the Sun and Chiron came together, the Chiron had newly moved to Aries. Sun had newly moved to Aries. We're just settling into that Sun in Aries feeling. So right now, you know, spring started last week, and because the Sun moves into Aries, that's the spring equinox. And the Sun in Aries feels like, oh my God, breath of fresh air, because we haven't had much fire or air, as I've been talking about. But quickly after the Sun came into Aries, we had that full moon, super intense, lots of air, lots of fire, feeling really good, probably had a lot of energy. Either you were up all night, or, you know, I think you were probably up all night. Most people I talked to felt like they got a big blast of energy with that full moon. But then a couple days later, it was like a big kick in the gut, and you felt really down again. And it was like really weird. You felt probably some of your inner child stuff coming up, some of that wounding, some of that old stuff that you didn't still know was there was coming up. And that was because the Sun and Chiron came together in the sky, and the Sun put a big flashlight on your core wounding from being a child or from past lives or whatever baggage you've been carrying with you for a really long time. So if you've been feeling a little, you know, sensitive, vulnerable, unsure of why you kind of want to look for safety or be alone or only be with the people that you feel really, really comfortable with, then that is all Chiron and the Sun coming together. Totally normal. The Sun and Chiron are technically still in a conjunction. They're moving away from one another. The Sun is making his way out of that conjunction, but it's still going to be lingering this week. So really, really be mindful this week. I said it before, but if you are feeling weepy or sad or super emotional, super sensitive, super vulnerable, it's totally okay. There's a lot of stuff that's causing that. We're going to have that Venus in Pisces. We've got the Mercury stationing direct, and we've got the Sun and Chiron together in Aries. So look out for those signs. Make sure you give yourself space and allow yourself the space to feel those things. And then next week, I think it's going to be a big relief when Mars goes into Gemini on Sunday, and you're going to be able to express all of the clarity that you gained and you gleaned in this Mercury retrograde. So that's all I've got for you. Stay tuned to your email tomorrow for the Real Sign Guide, my first free astrology guide coming to you. And if you have any questions or you're interested in getting a reading done, I do have spots for April open. So I would love, love, love to get you in for April. And I think that's all I've got for you. Questions, leave them in the comments, message me, and I will talk to you soon. See you next week.